Hello everybody, my name is Ungus Bungus 3.0, and today we're going to be going over my universe that is possibly blasphemy, but nobody probably cares. So without a further ado, let's get started. Before the universe we know today existed was the proto-universe, to put it simply. The realm that created this universe was called Doragalu, or the Abyss. This realm was where many gods lived, with the king of all gods being Elithar, or just El. Elithar was highly respected by the gods and was seen as a just ruler. He created Maxra, or Earth, of this proto-universe. Maxra was his most beloved creation, where he could make his dream of humanity a reality. Humans on this Earth were perfect beings that could do no wrong. They elected one leader to give order and represent El. This Earth thrived for thousands of years until one day, a meteor struck the planet, killing all life on it. This depressed El, so much so that he stayed silent in his palace for hundreds of years. The one light of his life, however, was Zora. The gods eventually grew tired of El's silence and ordered that he reunite the Abyss after the chaos that has been unfolding for years. It was on this day that El announced that when he was old enough, his newly born son would take over as king of the gods. This boy's name was Yahweh. 25 years later, the Festival of Royalty began, which was an annual festival celebrating the royalty of the Abyss. But this day was special for Yahweh, as he knew he would finally be crowned Prince of Doragalu, which meant, if his father was to step down, he would become king. But Yahweh was annoyed by something. The crowd wasn't cheering as loudly as he would like.
They do not see me fit to be the future overlord. Yes, surely they must not,
he thought. However, these thoughts were interrupted by Lokir, the god of chaos, who had just crashed the ceremony. El demanded Lokir know his place, but Lokir disobeyed him. He announced his plan to become king and kidnapped El to enact his plan. Though Yahweh knew this was the only way he'd become king, he also knew he had to save his father to give him a nice image when becoming king. As his quest to save his father continued, however, he grew more and more hungry for power. He accidentally murdered Akir, the god of wind, which gave him an insatiable thirst for blood. That's nice. He started slaying every person in sight with the intent to make them fear him. The only person safe from his murder spree was Ashira, the one woman he loved more than anything. Ashira pleaded with Yahweh to stop this unnecessary amount of violence, which sometimes made him feel guilty about what he was doing, but this never really stopped him. He kept killing, growing more powerful by the minute, which eventually caused Ashira to argue with him. She yelled and screamed at him, leaving him alone with nobody to talk to. This angered Yahweh even more and led him to killing her and the god of justice, Siddiq, in a blind rage. At this point, Yahweh was no longer sensible. He was more like a rabid animal with no thoughts as to what was going on. When Yahweh finally reached Lokir pleaded with him to spare his life, offering to be his loyal servant for the rest of his life. Yahweh considered the deal, but ultimately murdered Lokir in the most violent of ways. El, seeing what his son had become, revoked his right to take the crown, believing he was far too corrupt to handle such a job. But this had only sealed his fate, as Yahweh had become more powerful than him in every way. El, being the last god standing, tried his hardest to stop Yahweh. But in the end, it was all in vain, as Yahweh won and put El through eons of torture no person could ever comprehend. After this was just Yahweh, alone, with only the cold, dead wind to comfort him. He realized that he could no longer be king since there was no kingdom to rule over. With this thought, he had an idea. He would create his own kingdom to rule over, one that wouldn't rebel. He took what remained of the lifeless planet from eons ago and said 4 words, "Let there be light." But he knew he couldn't have possibly done this task alone. So he created angels. 3 angels were put closest to him: Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer. The angels helped God create the different realms, as well as to help create other planets outside of Earth. One day, Yahweh created a garden named Eden, a place that truly started his kingdom. From the soil, he created Adam, the first man, and from his rib, Eve, the first woman. Outside of Eden, he also created thousands of humans so the bloodline of Adam and Eve could continue without incest. Yahweh told Adam and Eve to only refer to him as God and told them about their purpose. Yahweh created 2 trees, the tree of forbidden knowledge and the tree of everlasting life. Adam and Eve were only to eat from the tree of everlasting life, as Yahweh feared that if they had eaten from the tree of forbidden knowledge, they would become as knowledgeable as him and rebel against him. Meanwhile, in heaven, Lucifer saw what Yahweh was doing and grew envious of mankind. Angels were far superior than human beings, and yet he gave more attention to them. Lucifer believed this was unjust and put together a small team of angels to try and get his attention. When this didn't work, Lucifer decided to try and sabotage Yahweh's plan for the perfect life. He manifested on earth as a serpent and tempted Eve into eating from the forbidden knowledge tree fruit. Although it took some convincing, Eve decided to trust the snake and ate the forbidden fruit. Adam also ate it. They had now seen the truth of the universe as well as their nudity. They quickly covered up when Yahweh tried to go and check on them. He asked how they knew they were naked and quickly put 2 and 2 together. He cursed Eve and all women after her with the pain of childbirth, cursed the serpent with having no legs, and cursed Adam with mortality and having to work for food. With his work being done, Lucifer chuckled to himself, now more prideful than ever. But the other angels had seen what he had done, and the others had done. As Adam and Eve were banished from the garden for eternity, angels rushed to tell Yahweh what Lucifer had done. Despite their best efforts to stop them, Lucifer and his team of rebel angels were too slow. Gabriel, Yahweh's favorite angel of all, told him, and he was infuriated. He banished Lucifer and any other angel involved with his plan to a dark, sad realm where they would never see the light of day again. Hell. But Lucifer resisted. He flew away, hoping never to be caught. Yahweh, however, had a plan for this. He sent out an army of angels led by Michael. They searched for many days and many nights, still not being able to find him, until one day they did. Lucifer battled the angels, and though he was corrupt, just like his father, he was very powerful. The last angel standing was Michael, who didn't want it to come to this. He drew his blade and chased after Lucifer. Although he was filled with anger, he didn't fight back against Michael. He cared for him too much. Instead, he ran with no aim, no destination. He just ran. What Lucifer hadn't seen was Yahweh and a league of angels blocking his path down the road. Yahweh grabbed Lucifer by the neck and said to him,
Leave. Your pride has consumed you to a point of no return. You are no longer my son, so leave.
With these words, Lucifer was thrown down into hell, his once beautiful wings being destroyed by the flames as he fell. When he was in hell, he looked on in horror. This was his new home. He stood still for days until his painful and agonizing demonification was finished. From then, Lucifer swore to be a just ruler of hell and cursed God. Meanwhile, on earth, Adam and Eve had just had 3 sons, Cain, Abel, and Seth. Growing up, Abel was always the golden child. He always did what he was told and loved his parents. Meanwhile, Cain seemed to always get the short end of the stick. He did what he was told, but hated tilling the ground, which was his one job. Adam loved both of the boys equally, but Eve seemed to only pay attention to Abel and their eldest son, Seth. All of this combined together led Cain to believe Yahweh hated him. So he devised a plan to become the new favorite child of God. While Cain and Abel were tilling the ground, Cain picked up a sharp stone and smashed Abel's skull in as many times as he could. After this, Cain buried his body and acted like as if nothing happened. Just a few minutes later, Yahweh asked if Cain might have known where Abel was, to which Cain replied, I don't know where he is. I'm, not his mom. I don't know. Yahweh could see through Cain's lies and told his parents about this. They had a candlelit dinner and talked about the best punishment for Cain. They agreed that Cain should be banished to the middle of nowhere, and whoever kills him will be rewarded with the highest amount of pay. Yahweh told Cain to leave, and when he did, he apologized to Adam and Eve for their great loss. Thousands of years later, Cain and Seth's bloodline continued, and the rest of the Bible plays out. After the events of the Bible is the Bible 2, which focuses more on angels, demons, ghosts, all the realms in the original Bible. It contains Yahweh's backstory as well, but I am not writing the Bible 2. In hell, Lucifer was doing a good job at torturing the souls of the damned. At this point, the 9 circles of hell were complete, and he even had a man helping him with the new torture devices, Dr. Doctor. Doctor was an astronomer on Earth and was in hell because of his gruesome experiments on humans. He was being tortured in the 9th circle of hell for his sins, but as he was, Lucifer came up to him. He said he saw potential in the scientist's smarts and took him under his wing. Never before had the Doctor felt so honored when he entered Lucifer's beautiful palace. Here he was treated as if he was royalty and was healed from his years of torture. Lucifer showed him to the guest bedroom, which would now on be the Doctor's bedroom. Lucifer later installed a basement below the palace where the Doctor could conduct his experiments freely. The Doctor was filled with joy at the fact that he could do whatever he wanted with the Doctor with no judgment in the basement. He wrote his thoughts down in a diary. Not only were his thoughts in this diary, but also blueprints for machines made to give the most agonizing torture to those who deserved it. The Doctor was living the high life until one day, one of his inventions exploded in the circle of heresy, freeing many souls from their torture. When Lucifer heard about this, he was furious. He demanded that the Doctor never make such a mistake again, and next time it happened, he would be sent to years of damnation again. With the fear that his next invention would explode, the Doctor summoned a demon of wishes to help, Gyaa. Gyaa was a powerful entity who could only grant one wish to whoever summoned him. When Gyaa asked what the Doctor's wish was, the Doctor said,
I wish for none of my inventions to blow up in my face again.
Before the Doctor realized he worded his wish incorrectly, the wish was already granted. The Doctor thought nothing of it, although he was worried. He wasn't very specific. Many years later, the Doctor built a cloning machine. With this machine, Lucifer could share the job of ruling hell with a being that was the exact same as him, in personality, looks, and memories. But when Lucifer stepped into the machine, things quickly went awry. The machine started to malfunction and ended in a giant explosion. This explosion greatly injured both Lucifer and the Doctor. Before Lucifer could even react, the floor detached from the rest of hell, creating Hell 2. Lucifer made it up to another ring of hell before he could be trapped in Hell 2, but the Doctor and Lucifer's clone didn't. While they were trapped in this new hell, as the Doctor called it, they had no food and they were very injured. After the incident, the Doctor would seemingly spasm out, and it seemed as if he was slowly losing his sanity by the day. While the Devil 2 was okay, he had a very short temper. At the slightest annoyance, the Devil 2 was infuriated, often taking his rage out on the Doctor. It wasn't until Yahweh found out about Hell 2 that there was anyone else in it. When Yahweh knew of Hell 2's existence, he declared that all freaks shall be sent to Hell 2. This includes people who live a weirder life on Earth, not really bad or good, and not really apathetic, just weird. This was also where non-believers would be sent from now on, as Yahweh began to see it unjust to send those who were never told of the Lord and atheists to the first circle of hell. Yahweh was also trapped every god he believed he had killed in prison in Hell 2. Though Yahweh killed the gods before him, their souls lived on, meaning some on earth began to believe in them instead of him. In this prison, the gods would be tortured endlessly, with no hope of ever escaping. In the years before the population of Hell 2 increased, the Doctor and the Devil 2 often thought about what they would govern this new realm like. One government proposed by the Doctor was a governing council. The council would oversee all of Hell 2 and would create laws about the realm. However, the Devil 2 feared that this was the main way to become an oligarchy. Although the Devil 2 is a clone of Lucifer, he didn't want an authoritarian government. One proposed system by the Devil 2 was used in the first 15 years of Hell 2, having a population, which was a diarchy, where the Doctor and the Devil 2 were both consuls of Hell. There was a court made up of 220 freaks who would vote on laws that the Doctor and the Devil 2 proposed. Although the court only got one term of 1 year, making it so that all of Hell 2 felt represented in the court. This government failed when the people thought that as if they could barely get anything done because the court switched every year. People tried to burn down the royal palace and kill members of the court, so a new constitution had to be rewritten. This new form of government was one in which there was to be one king and one consul elected by the people. And that is all I wrote, so it's going to be memory from here. At some point, the Doctor and the Devil 2 will have some big falling out. I don't know what it's going to be about. Maybe the Devil 2 getting scared of the Doctor being insane. I don't know. But then that's going to lead to a whole new form of government being done again. Well, not a new form of government, just the Devil 2 becoming king and then a consul being elected. Still, after this falling out, the Doctor is going to retreat to his lab where he can just be insane without any legal consequence. However, that will come back to bite him at some point, because all his stuff's gonna get leaked, so... Yay! At some point in the 1400s, Dante is going to go to hell because he found it and wants to write about it. And also, he's doing it for the love of his wife, Beatrice, or girlfriend, I don't know. That would be like a survival Metroidvania kind of game. Also, the Devil would be the final boss, obviously, and Virgil would be leading Dante through the different, circles of hell. The next thing on my checklist of the timeline is Alice in Freakyland, which is basically Alice in Wonderland, but not, because she's in Hell 2 now. And it's weird. And Yahweh hates her and sends her to Hell 2. And the Queen of Hearts is a consul now, because why not? After that would be Scary Times, a kind of episodic show where ghost hunters go to ghost hunt. But also, there would be Bond and word character development in the thing. It would also probably reveal a lot of lore about just how the realms work and stuff. Next up is Gino's Grand Wish Quest, which is the weirdest thing I could possibly make because I wanted to have as much fun as I could with it. So of course Gino is the wish demon, but in this game he's a silly little guy who grants wishes of every single person he meets. And near the end of the game, FDR, the president during World War II, summons the Gino to make him a cup of tea. But also, then he gets transported to Joseph Stalin, who tries to use his wish for evil and doesn't get to do the wish, and then gets mad, and then he's the final boss for some reason. And then here's where we get into the meat of it all. Crusade. Crusade is a game where one of the first archangels, Horny, that's his name, Hornatio, goes down to Hell 2 to destroy Hell 2, because Yahweh despises that place with all of his being and regrets ever doing anything with it. And in this game, it's very scary and spooky, and you should be afraid, because Horny is going to kill everyone, like that SpongeBob image. But then the Devil 2 is going to kill him in the end, so... Next up is Dream World. This one I'm not really fully sure on, but a girl is in a realm called Dream World, where ethereal beings basically exist, and Ebod, who is the ethereal being of death, is her little guide, and also the ethereal being of light is the main villain, and it's a dream. Wow. And then there's Doot's Spooky Adventure, where a little sheet ghost named Doot has to go stop evil from happening. It's one of the sillier things, and it takes place in the spirit realm. And the main villain is going to be Statch, who is basically just the most evil person ever. He also meets a girl witch named Agatha, and then Hardy exists, and I hate him because he's weird. But then in the end, Statch kills Agatha. Oh no. And then Doot is mad, gets big mad, and then kills Statch. And then that's when the sequel comes into play, where Doot goes to retrieve Agatha's soul from hell. And there's a bunch of horrors, eldritch horrors down there. The next show is Death's Apprentice, which is about 3 guys trying to be the next Death, because Death is getting ready to step down. This would, like, show lore about, like, purgatory more instead of the other normal ones, and also would show what Death does, as well as the other horsemen. Also, Hades is in it. The next game is the big one, the magnum opus, the magnum opens, the big peanut of it all, Mission Infernum. Mission Infernum is where the last Archangel, Mono, gets sent to Hell 2 as a last-ditch effort to try and destroy Hell 2, because Yahweh is so insanely tired at this point, because the last Archangel was in 1998. So, Mono goes down there, but his code was messed up by Michael, so he kind of forgets his entire purpose down there, and makes friends, and enemies, but mostly friends. And there would be 9 acts, and every act would have a different villain, with Act 1 being Boss, Act 2 being the Doctor, Act 3 being Mo and Baron, Act 4 being Benson, Act 5 being Nova, Act 6 being Zoid, Act 7 being the President, Act 8 being the Devil 2, and Act 9 being Yahweh. And basically by Act 9 he has an entire character arc where he doesn't want to do this anymore and, like, doesn't want to be just another Archangel. So he resists God, and God gets big mad, and yeah. And then finally, the game about the rapture, Eden, where the Antichrist has taken over Earth, and everyone that was good is dragged up to heaven, which is only Danny DeVito in this universe. Everyone else is left to rot, and Jade is trying to save world or something. And Jesus finally appears and, like, helps try and defeat the Antichrist, because Jesus is chill. And with that, the video is finished. This is the first video I speak in, so it's not going to be very good, but I hope you enjoyed my insane ramblings.